Welcome back to The Explainer. While the entire world pretty much had its eyes locked on the Strait of Hormuz and all that nuclear diplomacy, the United States military quietly executed a midnight strike in Nigeria on May 16, 2026 that literally reshuffled the global chessboard. They eliminated the global #2 of ISIS. And I want to be clear right up front, this wasn't just some regional victory. This was a surgical decapitation of a terror network's highest command. So we're going to walk through exactly how this whole thing went down, and then we'll jump into a rapid-fire global intelligence briefing.
Okay, let's dive right into this target. Abu Bilal al-Manuki, widely known as Abu Mano. This guy wasn't just a figurehead or some regional commander hanging out in the Sahel. He was the absolute engine of the operation. Think of him as basically the chief operating officer for global terrorism. He was personally responsible for managing the financial pipelines, overseeing direct hostage-taking operations, and coordinating attack planning for literally every single ISIS franchise on the planet. I mean, he helped write their operations manual. Taking a guy like this off the board, it doesn't just disrupt a local cell, it sends a massive shockwave through their entire global network.
So here's how we're breaking it all down today. First, the midnight strike that took out ISIS's #2. Second, we'll deconstruct the kill chain of that strike. Third, dismantling the ISWAP franchise. Fourth, critical supply chain vulnerabilities. And finally, we'll wrap up with the global intelligence brief. All right, Section 1, eliminating ISIS's #2. The midnight strike in Nigeria.
Let's set the scene for this historic operation. It's May 16th, and an assault takes place on fortified compounds down in Nigeria's Lake Chad basin. Shortly after, the Nigerian army releases this highly specific statement calling it a precision airland operation in close coordination with U.S. Africa Command. Now, if you follow military strategy, you know that specific phrasing is a massive tell. That is the undeniable operational fingerprint of a highly complex U.S. Special Operations direct action raid. This absolutely was not your standard patrol. This was a fully synchronized, multi-domain takedown.
Moving right along to Section 2, anatomy of the strike, deconstructing the kill chain.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how this massive operation actually got set into motion. It all traces back to a November 2025 directive from the Department of War aimed at protecting Christians in the region. That policy directly placed U.S. Africa Command on a collision course with Abu Mano, and it led to the creation of a joint U.S.-Nigerian intelligence fusion cell at Bachi Airfield, basically a real-time targeting network built specifically to hunt down high-value targets.
Targets pattern of life for up to 27 hours straight. Below them, F-15E Strike Eagles are running Overwatch using sniper targeting pods, and they are loaded with GBU-54 laser JDAMs, which are highly advanced smart bombs for pinpoint strikes. And capping off this aerial stack, the AC-130J gunship, which is just tailor-made for loitering over a compound at night and dropping devastating, precision suppressive fire.
So how did the flow of the actual raid play out? Step 1, those Reapers logged Abu Mano's pattern of life for weeks, gathering absolutely vital human intelligence. Step 2, the air-land coordinated strike drops the hammer with that suppressive overwatch we just talked about. Step 3, elements of Joint Special Operations Command, specifically Green Berets, embedded with Nigerian forces, breach the compound. And Step 4, which honestly is arguably the most crucial part of the entire raid, sensitive site exploitation, or SSE. By securing the perimeter and sweeping the compound, these operators hoovered up hard drives, maps, and financial data. That is exactly how you find out where the next attack is planned, and more importantly, where the other lieutenants are hiding.
Which brings us to Section 3, dismantling the ISWAP network, the corporate terror franchise.
And this brilliantly illustrates the kind of enemy that U.S. and Nigerian forces were actually up against. The Islamic State West Africa Province, or ISWAP, is the most active and lethal global affiliate of ISIS right now. They don't act like some ragtag insurgency. They operate much more like a corporate mafia. They've got a layered governance structure modeled directly on ISIS Central in Syria and Iraq. They run regional tax systems on herders and traders. They even provide basic services in areas the local government can't reach to build up reliance. But perhaps the most alarming thing? Under Abu Mano's oversight, they were actually standing up a drone development academy utilizing Iranian Shahid designs. Yep, the exact same designs Iran uses to project power over in the Middle East.
All right, pivoting to Section 4, critical supply chains, the tungsten problem.
Here's the thing about executing highly advanced strikes with assets like the F-15E and that AC-130J. They require incredibly cutting-edge munitions, and those munitions rely entirely on a very specific and quite fragile supply chain. We're talking about a heavy dependence on critical minerals like tungsten, which is absolutely essential for things like armor-piercing rounds, jet turbine blades, and missile guidance systems. Currently, China completely dominates, well, they control the vast majority of the global supply of tungsten. To counter this massive strategic vulnerability, we are seeing sweeping domestic investments. The Department of War is allocating major funding, including a massive $12 billion critical mineral stockpile plan known as Project Vault. Because of this, companies like Vault Strategic Mining are building out extensive strategic tungsten portfolios across North America. The whole goal is to ensure that the military supply chains simply cannot be choked off by foreign competitors. It's a huge deal, because whoever controls these minerals ultimately controls the future of global defense technology.
And finally, Section 5, the Global Intelligence Brief. Iran, China, and AI swarm drones.
While AFRICOM was executing that strike in Nigeria, the rest of the world has been moving at breakneck speed. Let's start with the high-stakes nuclear diplomacy happening right now with Iran. There's a 14-point memorandum of understanding currently being hammered out to cool tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and address ongoing sanctions. So the crucial point of friction in these negotiations is pretty clear. Iran wants to suspend its nuclear enrichment for 5 years, while the US is demanding a 20-year suspension. But here's the bombshell detail emerging from these talks. Iran might actually agree to ship its entire stockpile of highly enriched uranium completely out of the country. There's even talk of potentially moving it directly to the United States.
Meanwhile, looking over at the broader Pacific theater, China is busy executing a massive, highly coordinated, dual theater show of force. Around April 20th, their supercarrier, the Liaoning, transited the Taiwan Strait heading southbound. At the exact same time, a naval task group pushed through the Miyako Strait near Japan. And to just cap the whole thing off, H-6 bombers, armed with anti-ship missiles, recently flew directly over that carrier. Make no mistake, this is the People's Liberation Army very visibly demonstrating to Taiwan, and frankly to the rest of the world, their readiness and their reach.
To wrap up the intel brief, let's look at defense tech. AeroVironment just unveiled the Mayhem 10. This thing is the successor to the famous Switchblade drone family, and the specs are wild. It features a 10-pound modular payload, meaning you can swap it out between intelligence gathering, electronic warfare, or a kinetic strike warhead depending on the mission. It's got a super low detectable profile and can loiter over a target for up to an hour and a half. But the real game changer? It's what they call the Halo Command architecture. This system allows for AI-driven swarms where up to 10 drones can operate collaboratively in the exact same engagement window. Picture this: one drone is jamming radar, another is feeding live video, and a third is delivering a lethal strike. They are generating massive, coordinated effects without ever putting a human aircrew at risk.
So, let's bring this all full circle by eliminating Abu Mano and his inner circle, securing deep intelligence through that site exploitation, and wielding the kind of advanced technology we just discussed. The very spine of the ISIS global network has essentially been severed. The organization is in absolute shock right now. So the question I want to leave you with today is this. With the global terror network currently paralyzed and all their hard drives sitting securely in the hands of US intelligence, do you think the US unleashes on more ISIS targets around the globe next? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.